What's up, people? What's up? How are you? How are you? Oh my. I'm hyper. I'm so hyper. I can't believe it's the last week in 2021, y'all. And I am so pumped for 2022 that, yeah. I wonder if I was this excited about 2021. I don't think that I was. I've been trying to think about that. I need to go back to last year's episode and listen to it and or pull out some journals and be like, so, where was I at? I don't all I can say is bottom line, I was not as excited for the upcoming year as I am excited about 2022. So, just saying, just saying. How are you feeling about it? Okay. So, thank you for joining for another episode. Just kind of on the front end, I want to let you know that I've got a couple of things to share before we're going to dive into this reading. And I'm not going to be coming back on the other end of this reading like I normally do. So just hang with me because I've got some exciting things for you, some important information. First of all, this is the last episode that I'm going to be publishing until February 2nd, 22. Some beautiful numbers, y'all. 2222. I'm taking January off. I'm clearing my head. I'm coming back with a whole new format for this podcast. Some really exciting guests. I am very, very pumped. But in the meantime, make sure that you sign up for the newsletter if you haven't already done so, because there's still going to be a lot that's going on during January that I'm very excited about, some of which I'm going to talk about here in just a moment. But also that way you can just stay connected to what's going on, what's happening. Because even though I'm taking a month off from the podcast, I'll still be doing readings, I'll still be doing all kinds of different things, and yeah, that way you're plugged in, man. Okay, and in that, well, because I won't be sharing episodes, I've dug into the data, the statistics of this podcast that's been around since March 2020. So this is like coming up on 2 years in March of next year, which is just pretty wild. But I have pulled together the top all time 4 episodes on this podcast for you. So you can find out what those are in the show notes, get direct links to check them out, some great interviews, and also just some podcasts with some fantastic information that would be helpful considering we're going through a bit of an upheaval on our planet right now. So make sure to check those out. In addition, I'm probably going to be sharing a couple of things on the social channels, certainly through the newsletter, and definitely on Medium, which is a platform where I blog, if that is of interest to you. My newsletter will be getting all the things, so again, make sure you're signed up for that if you are interested. There are only 3 more days as of today to book an Akashic Record soul reading with me and receive the 15% off. You can use code THANKFUL for the 60 or 90-minute video readings. So it's a promotion that I was just doing around Thanksgiving, and then my guides are like, nah, girl, you got to extend it into December. So that is what I have done. But as of the 31st, it is no more. So if you have been wanting to book a reading with me, make sure to do that. Obviously, you can do it afterwards if you want, but hey, saving a couple bucks is definitely worth it, right? I've been doing a lot of readings lately and quite a few about the upcoming year, which have been really cool. Actually, on Monday of this week, I sat down and did my own personal reading for 2022 and just had a beautiful time in the records. I am eternally thankful, grateful, and honored to be able to work in the records. So speaking of, the next Access the Akashic Records workshop is on January 7th Starts at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is a workshop that I've been doing here in person, or I should say, yeah, here in person here in Wilmington, North Carolina, where I am currently living. But last month's workshop sold out very fast. So this month, I opened up some more seats. We are switching up kind of the way things go, and it is going to be fabulous. But make sure, if you have been wanting to learn how to read the Akashic Records, if the Akashic Records have been popping up in all kinds of places in your world, which is kind of how they made their entrance into my life, was like it just started popping up everywhere. I couldn't I couldn't like bounce out of it. This is going to be an incredible workshop. It's going to be 2.5 hours, although I might be hanging out longer if there's more questions or people want to share. We'll just kind of see how it goes. But it's a fantastic way for you to get enough information to be able to start practicing on your own. So we'll be doing some channeling in the records. Going into the records, you'll be learning all about what the records are, how to communicate in the records. It's a really beautiful introductory course that gives you the tools to start. Plus, in all capital letters, I have created a private Telegram community for anyone who has taken a workshop with me beforehand for continued support. It's something I've been wanting to do for a while, but I finally just kind of kicked my butt in gear. Because the thing is that when you start diving into the Akashic Records, you need people to talk to about it. You want to share your experiences. You want to kind of get feedback. Maybe you have questions. And it's really cool. It's on Telegram. If you're not familiar, it will be private. So it's not on social media. And we'll be doing all kinds of cool things in that group. There will be opportunities for practice sessions and all kinds of things. So that's an extra bonus for signing up to take the workshop. And if you aren't able to join it live, that is not a problem. You will still get the recording and all of the resources and have access to me via email if you have follow-up questions. Okay. Next thing is, as I mentioned with you, I've got some really exciting guests showing up in 2022. But if you have any suggestions, if there's anyone that you would like to know more about, that you would like me to interview, email me. Let me know. Send me some links for their information. Please do not introduce me to them, because if I don't think it's a good fit for my podcast, I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. I am very particular about who I have on this podcast. You know, there's a lot of voices out there in the world right now. And unfortunately, you know, the thing is that I'm just very particular about who I bring onto my podcast, because in essence, I am recommending them to you, and I take that responsibility seriously. So I'm not just about anybody. And that's why you kind of find some cool people on my podcast that maybe you haven't heard of before, because, you know, there's big names, but then there's genuine people, and that's what I'm about. So just send me their website information or something like that so I can check them out, and I'd be happy to do so. That's really about it. That is really about it. So, in regards to the 2022 reading, wow, y'all, this was such a beautiful reading to channel through. And as you will hear in the recording towards the end, I was kind of in tears for a little bit, just because of the overwhelming amount of love that not only comes through the records, but was really just coming through with, I think, the second to last question. You'll have to excuse my voice. It gets very low and kind of slow, and I explain that afterwards. But what you're going to be hearing in this reading is similar to how I work with my clients, in that, you know, I'm asking the records questions, and then they're answering me, and I'm channeling that information through to you. But then after a couple of the questions, I kind of share with you what it is I was experiencing, what was coming through for me, in regards to my interpretation of what they were saying. Because the thing is that within the Akashic Records, as a channel, it's a very multi-sensory experience. And sometimes I was experiencing this just earlier with a client. It was very funny. But it's like the records, they'll be channeling through like information, but they're also like showing me things. And I'm like intuitively knowing exactly what those visions mean. And it's like telepathic communication almost, because I can see like a few images and I automatically know what it means. But if I was to talk about it, it would take me like 5-10 minutes. You know what I mean? Anyway, all to say that in some of these I share some quips afterwards. In that, I really want to point this out just in case you're listening and you're like, what? There's this one sort of feedback from me, like some of my interpretation, and I say something about bestiality, and that is not, this was me talking, Anna here, and that was not what I was trying, that was not the word I was trying to say. I was trying to talk about how we are sort of beasts as humans, like our inner beast is what I was trying to talk about. That part of us, that shadow part of us, the part of us that's like, greedy and like going to take from people. And anyway, I just wanted to clear that up on the front end because, yeah, I'm already someone who can get my words mixed up. But when I am deep and heavy in the energy of the records, just things can pop out. So anyway, but I hope that you love this reading. I hope that it is as useful for you as it has been for me in not only channeling it through, but going back and editing it. Make sure that if you also want to check out the transcript, it's on the website. Again, check the show notes. You can look at that link there, and that way you can read along with it, or maybe just read it if you don't want to listen to it. Whatever is best for you. But definitely let me know how this resonates with you. Send me an email. Let me know if you enjoyed it, what was useful, what wasn't. Any insights you had, I would love to hear them. Absolutely. So happy 2022. I mean, seriously, y'all, I'm so pumped. And quite frankly, I'm going to miss you. Okay, go away, helicopter. But I'm going to miss you. And I just hope that you have a wonderful New Year's, be safe, and I will see you back in February with the February Akashic reading. All right. Mwah, 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 mwah. Welcome to the Soul Driven Podcast. I believe that when we invest in ourselves, the world benefits. If you are searching for meaning and purpose, if you are unsure about how to combine the spiritual with the everyday, if you are ready to uncover who you truly are, then you've come to the right place. The Soul Driven Podcast is dedicated to exploring the intersection of living a soulful and spiritual life in a driven and ambitious world. Join me for practical guidance, truthful discussions, and interviews with people who are successfully living a soul-driven life. My name is Anna Hendricks, spiritual guide, marketer, and your host. Thank you for being here. What message do you have for us about 2022? This year is going to be one that's quite fruitful. It's going to bring about many changes. It's going to dig down deep into the very depths of your soul. It's going to call forward what it is that you all have been looking for. for so long. It's going to call out, yell, and scream about all the ways in which you must pay attention to what it is that's going on around you and within you. For the world herself will be shaking, reverberating. She will bring forward heavy, discernible changes that will cause great chaos and destruction among you. Please understand that she does so because she must rebalance the tides that have gotten so unbalanced between mankind and how it is this planet is treated. Yet even in the midst of this upheaval, this year will be fruitful in many ways, mainly because it will bring you closer to yourselves than you've ever been. You will be asked many questions about how you want your lives to go, what it is you want to have inside of them, how you would like to run from day to day, what work you want to do, which people you want to surround yourself with. Yes, oh yes. It's going to be a year of relationships, between yourselves and within yourselves. It's going to help you build upon what you've been learning the past 2 years, which is that the old ways of doing things aren't acceptable anymore. No, they won't work. And while this will cause a great gnashing of teeth, it will bring forth frustration, anger, anxiety, depression, and all sorts of lower level vibrations. It is simply because these things must be broken off for a new earth is being birthed. And in that, the old ways cannot carry forward. Truly, this is a new time. A new time for the way Earth is managed. A new way in which we look upon relationships, viewing those in our life. Do they add to it or take away? These things will become blatantly clear in the year forthcoming. But know that even in these delineations, you will begin to encounter a kind of compassion that you've never felt before. For the person who doesn't belong in your life, for the group that you don't align yourself with, for the other that you consider to be other. For this compassion is making its way through all of the rivers and valleys, all of the hearts and minds, all of the ways in which you experience yourself and the world around you. It is growing at a steady beat. It is rising. It won't be taking place overnight. And truly, it will only begin its great descent into humanity in 2022. But this is where it begins. It's where the tides start to transform. For in the past 2 years, you've been learning to care about others in ways you weren't even open to before. Think back to 2019, where your life was at during this time. Did you care what was happening on the global landscape? Did it bother you when other nations experienced famine, disease, authoritative governments? Or did you simply take notice of what was going on and dive deep back into the world in which you were living? That world was carved off from everyone else. It seemed safe inside its little bubble. But what good was it doing for the rest of humanity? For you did not come here to live inside of a bubble. No. Those of you who have incarnated upon the earth at this time are here to take part in something greater. Something that will shift this planet into a new millennium, this new paradigm. You couldn't do this work inside a bubble. You must do it with your chest ripped open, heart laid bare before the world. But that is why all that is happening, to wake you up, to reintroduce you to your consciousness, to make you see that you have an impact on this world, and that the impact you have is wholly up to you. Sure, you can stay inside a bubble if you so choose, but it's going to get harder and harder to do so. Before you know it, you will be birthed before the world, unable to close your eyes, unable to look away, unable to believe that your place doesn't matter. In 2022, it's about rejoining those around you, but from a whole and centered place. Know that all of you will find yourself at different places on this journey. Some have come farther in these times than others. But that's simply because you've chosen to. Wherever you are at, know that it's exactly where you are meant to be at this time. Do not compare yourselves. Do not think less of yourself for being where you are. Do not lose hope or faith. Simply know that this year, you will come face to face with humanity as a whole. What is our theme for this year? The theme for this year is relationships. That which you have with yourself and those around you. Your relationship to this planet. your relationship to the spiritual world, or the world which you cannot see, the world that exists around you at every moment, yet isn't necessarily within your grasp. But there is so much that's happening around planet Earth, so much that will be coming forward at a future date that will amaze and surprise you. For you are simply some of the beings that are to be found on this network. Of so many. But if you are wise, it is the relationships that you have that will introduce you to the authentic self that you are. They will show you what you've been hiding. They will show you where you've been accepting less. They will show you what it is you must do while you're on this planet. For all of you play a role, and your relationship to each other is vital and important. Relationships. You won't be able to hide from them this year. No. They'll come driving forward with such intensity. They'll slap you across the face. They'll wake you up faster than anything you've ever known before, because you will be experiencing them from every angle. Through loss and grief, through matrimony and celebration, through thanksgiving and love. Through all the ways in which you could experience relationships. That is what this year will be about. That is what it will be focused upon. Thank you. What can we look forward to in 2022? What is this looking forward to? Are we now talking about the benefits? The good things? Why? Haven't we already been talking about them? There's going to be much joy and jubilation. To experience in 2022. Simply because you will be stepping into a more authentic version of yourself. Therefore, you will begin experiencing your life on this planet in new ways. You will find yourself doing things that surprise you, taking risks in areas where you may not have before, feeling things that you hadn't felt before, seeing colors, hearing whispers and tones. Your very essence is coming alive. It is, as they say, coming on board. It has been turned on, activated, and in that, so much will be brought forward for you to experience in new ways. For truly you will have great cause for celebration in 2022. Will it be this way for everyone? No. Of course not. But for those whose feet are firmly planted on the ground, for those who have spent time and dedication, dedicating themselves to themselves, will have the greatest to give to humanity and will experience the highest of highs. If this hasn't been you for any reason, now is the time to do so. Learn to sit with yourself in silence, to find peace within the very essence of yourself, to touch in, tune in, and be with the great wisdom that resides within you. For this wisdom will lead you and guide you. It will help you to come into great alignment with your place on this planet, and therefore begin introducing you to the destiny that is yours, to the ways in which you can affect humanity, those around you, the ways in which you can give back. For truly there is nothing that makes the heart feel as alive as giving does, as serving does. We also say to you that this is a year to bring pleasure to the forefront. to find ways to fill your lives with laughter, to bring cheer into your everyday, to stop taking life so seriously. Yes, learn what it is that brings you pleasure. Become deeply intimate with these things. And use them appropriately. When life feels too heavy, or when you feel burdened. But while there will be much reason for elation this year, much coming together, much doing and bringing, creating, arts, music and dancing. Yes, art is going to find its way back into your lives in innumerable ways. Take in the colors, sights, and sounds with every essence, with every sense. Just a little excerpt here from me. This question and how I'm really seeing it come forward in the records. And even in relation to the last question about what our theme is for the year 2022. This relationship, this focus on relationship. For those of us who really allowed ourselves to become awakened in 2021, to be able to find that peace in the midst of the noise, this is only going to grow and expand in 2022. And that's going to give us the capacity and the ability to really be able to tap into how we can serve, how we can give to those around us through our own individual lives. That's going to be different from everyone, from, mothers who are staying home and really giving to their families and their children, to, those in the workplace and how you affect your coworkers, whether you are going into offices and or having meetings online, either way, to our personal relationships, even so much as when we do things like going to the grocery store and the ways in which our energy affects those around us. I know the records have been talking a lot about the importance of really, building a strong foundation with our spiritual practice, and this is why. And so I want to celebrate with those of you who have been doing that and who are doing that. And if you haven't yet, if that hasn't become a priority for you, there's no shame, there's no guilt. Like the records share, there's nothing to feel bad about whatsoever. We are all on our own place, in our journeys. And there's just no right or wrong. It's just what is. And so this is a beautiful time for you to do this for yourself, because it's going to help you to not only come into greater alignment with who you are, but then being able to do that allows you to come into greater alignment with how you're meant to serve and give to the world around you. Because, when we think of things like our purpose on this planet, which is, we always talk about purpose on the podcast with with our guests, with our lives, we think about our purpose and what we're here to do. It's always some form of giving and serving those around us, right? It's never fully about ourselves. Like, that's just impossible. I always used to say growing up, when my mother would want me to be more self-focused, I would say, but life is so boring that it feels so empty when I'm just focused on me. And I was someone who is out of alignment and too focused on others. So I understand where she was coming from. She wanted me to be more balanced. But in my world, I saw it so clearly that, just me focusing on me was empty and would never give me any sort of satisfaction, any sort of joy or fulfillment that I could find when I was able to give or do for others. So I just wanted to share that sort of understanding about what has been channeled through so far. Okay. Our fourth question. Masters, teachers, loved ones, what do we need to be cautious about in 2022? Ah, yes. Now we're getting down to the root of it. For here is where so much can get sticky, uneven, where you can get caught up and lost, where you can lose your way. Distractions, distractions, distractions. I'm seeing the word distractions in all capital letters, big and bold. There's going to be so much room for distractions in your life to take you off course, to get you confused, frustrated, angered, to fill you with regret, to develop fears in you that you can't contain. You must understand that the world around you is breaking down, that the systems and structures that you thought served you never did. They tried. They tried to put something together for humanity. But the problem was that humanity was all out of whack. So therefore, the systems and structures that they created never served you, but only served a few. Only served those who held the power, who were able to maintain and exist outside of those systems and structures. And simply speaking, that is what you must learn to do in 2022. Yes, pay attention to what is happening around you and the world. but only in so much that you can maintain a safe distance from your heart's ability to withstand it all. For understand that regardless of who you are a sensitive being who gets caught up in seeing, knowing what's going on around you. But remember, this is only part of the story. The lens with which you see the world, this narrowed view, the black and white vision that you've been given for so long, is beginning to crack. And believe us when we say there are many who won't want it to. They don't want you to see all the colors that exist in the world. They don't want you to know all the ways in which life really works around you. They would prefer to keep you cattled with blinders on, so that you can only see things in black and white. The divisive polarity that has been rising so steadily through the hands of many that have been in charge, that are in charge. Please understand that they know not what they do. They are simply operating within the capacity, the level of consciousness of which they are currently at. Therefore, it is useless, pointless, fruitless to point fingers, to place blame, which is why it is so important for you to come back inside, for you to place shutters, strict boundaries around what it is that you take in, around the ways in which you engage with the world. For truly, as you move forward in time, technology is going to bring forth ways in which it's going to be harder and harder for you to opt out. Learn to use this technology for your benefit, but become discerning and refuse to use it in ways that are harmful to you. So much can seep deep inside of you without your ever knowing it. You might think that you can stand apart from the fray, but if you are reading about it, if you are constantly replaying it before your eyes, it is finding a way, it is finding a home inside of yourself, and will become harder and harder to purge. Conduct yourself from a place of empowerment this year, or it will be far too easy to get swept up. This isn't going to be an easy year in many ways. Mother Nature is going to be raining down her wrath for all the ways in which she has been abused. She too will be taking back her power. And in that there will be great devastation. In that there will be many lives lost. You will find yourselves in the midst of famines, droughts, financial systems will break, countries will split, tornadoes will destroy, the earth beneath your feet will shake and rumble. Governments will be toppled. Much will fall to the ground. And much of humanity will be looking for a place to blame. They will run at each other, fingernails out, looking to place their hands around the throats of others. Death will also be a strong theme in 2022. What we can say about all this is that it must be done. It must take place. Do not allow yourself to become lost in victimhood. For you must understand that those who choose to leave this planet truly chose to do so. It was not done to them. It was their choice. Whether through the actions of another, through the changes of the planet, or through the viruses that will rise. Everyone leaves by their own accord. Again, we say distractions, caution yourself against losing your mind in them. Do not allow yourself to get lost in the news or what is happening in the exterior world. You are needed at this time. You have gifts, you have skills, you have abilities, and you will not be able to use them accordingly if you allow yourself to get swept up in all that comes forward. Build a strong foundation. Build a platform on which to stand. Know what practices, people, places, things fortify you and shore them up for when times are tough, you can lean on them. You will get through this year. You will be victorious if you focus on these things. So again, I just kind of wanted to share my take on this. I so appreciate the records because while they always are able to bring us back around to hope or to looking at things from a positive perspective, from an empowered perspective, I should say, they don't hold back. This is going to be a tough year. We are going to have to face the consequences of what we have done to this planet, of what we continue to do to this planet. You know, when you go to the grocery store and you stock up on water bottles instead of investing in, getting water service every month that comes to your house, that refills your huge jugs, putting those little plastic bottles out into the world. I mean, that's just one example. We have to start making different decisions. We have to start doing things differently. And this year we are going to see I think in a very real way, the impact of the decisions that we've been making. And it's pointless, like they said, to point fingers. It was really interesting when they were talking about like people wanting to go after each other's throats, because I was literally seeing this. There's going to be so much devastation. It's like my mind thinks about these movies where it's like in the middle of like a earthquake type scenario and everything's falling apart and everybody's losing everything, and so what do? They like go at each other's throats. Why? I don't know, but it's like, it's our shadow side, it's our bestiality, it's it's that, it's the greed, the selfishness, all of that that lives within all of us. Nobody is too good for that. And we really have to watch that in this year, the distractions. And I was so much seeing through technology, through our cell phones, through TVs, all the ways in which we digest the world around us. We've really got to be discerning, to put up strong boundaries. We've really got to be purposeful around what we read, where we're investing our time and energy. It's just going to get more and more important as we move forward. And that is because everything around us must fall. And I loved that they pointed out, it's like our systems and structures have never served us. And of course, of course they haven't. Like, just here in the US, I mean, I can really only speak about this because this is where I've lived the majority of my life. The US, sure, it was founded on this idea of freedom and a place where people can come and have, practice their own religion and faith, but yet it was also founded on slavery. We took land from those who were here. We decimated those populations. We required them to conform to our way of seeing things. So from the very beginning, this land was not, this country was not founded in an equitable way. And so everything that was created, it must go. And this is something that I've been seeing for so many years. It's like this whole idea of, Democrat and Republican, and I know the entire chessboard needs to be cleared. We need to start all over. Nothing is serving us as a whole. It's just not. And that's a big idea and a big endeavor. And I know that. And that's not something that happens overnight, but the records, that was really what they showed me very clearly. And so I think what we need to be cautious about is, again, those boundaries for ourselves. We can only be responsible for ourselves, period. Like if you're in a relationship with someone who wants to be very heavily involved in the exterior world, well, that's their choice. And you've got to do what's best for you, and that's not an easy thing. But I can tell you that in relationship, whether it's with, a spouse, a partner, even with our children, the best place that we can lead from is through example. And when others see us placing boundaries in our lives and finding peace and finding happiness and being able to stay focused on what it is that we're doing and how it is that we can help those around us, man, they're going to want to get in on that action. They're going to be like, wow, everything is crumbling over here, but man, this person over here, well, man, she's still happy and she's still doing good. And what's that about? Like, I want more of that. And so then they're going to want to come and ask questions and be a part, right? So we don't need to judge others. We need to really stay focused on ourselves. And that is going to be what ripples out into the world around us. And it's going to enable us to withstand and to stay fortified in the midst of so much upheaval. And I just think that's so important. Okay. We've got 2 more questions here. So, number 5. How can we make the most of 2022? Well, we have to say that this channel's use of the words fortify, is truly your best strategy for the way forward. Fortify yourselves in love. Fortify yourselves in peace. Fortify yourself through taking great care of yourself, through getting the rest and nourishment the exercise and movement that your body needs. Listen to the ways in which it wants to speak with you, the ways in which it wants to guide you. All the ways in which it wants to impart great wisdom into your very being, your spiritual self, your energetic body. Fortify yourself to become the greatest version of yourself. Truly come back inside so that when you step out, on the forefront, in the world around you, you will be such an embodied version of yourself that simply by your being there, you will change the world around you. You will affect at the highest levels. You will give to the deepest needs. You will open up your heart to all of humanity. You will no longer see right and wrong. You will simply see what is before you. And therefore, you will be able to find solutions without even trying. To make the most of 2022, make the most of yourself. Make the most of the relationships around you. Make the most of the ways in which you interact with the world. How it is you treat the cashier at the grocery market. How it is you treat one another on the road. Or when you come into contact with another person. Remember that each of you is on your own path. Each of you is walking something a little bit different. But all of your paths converge, combine, and in that person you want to hate or dismiss lies pieces of yourself that you haven't yet dealt with. Know that each and every person who comes across your path is a teacher. Thank them for their effort and be on your way. Protect yourself from the world around you. by coming to know yourself, knowing the corners of who you are, accepting the deep, dark, heavy places, the ones you'd prefer to hide or look away from, the perversions, the greed, the hate, judgment. Yes, you will see these parts of yourself come to the surface this year. But do not fret or be frightened, for they are simply showing you that you are no better than anyone else. That even in the midst of your spiritual awakening, you are innately flawed in your humanness. Yet it does not take away from the great value you hold upon this planet. Nor does it take away from the goodness that you are. These errors and mishaps are simply places for us to grow. And are truly deep treasures that can bring us more joy than we've ever known. This year, learn to accept all parts of yourself. And watch the ways that impacts the world around you. Sometimes the way in which the records communicate is just, it's like so full of love. It's hard not to become emotional. You know, it's like we don't understand how loved and accepted we are for who we are, exactly who we are, and the great power that comes when we can do that for ourselves, and how we can truly change the planet when we choose to love ourselves instead of rejecting ourselves. But that response was shared with like so much love. I'm sure you could hear in my voice, I was just getting deeper and deeper. It was almost hard to speak because I just wanted to get lost in it. You know, when I was given that download a couple of years ago, the quote that I use for this podcast, when we invest in ourselves, the world benefits, it's just something I always come back to. And this is what they're speaking into. This should be our number one priority, period. That quote, if we can't change the world, change ourselves, and then we will change the world. Something like that. That's where it all begins. And I think because the energy of 2022 is going to be so focused on relationship, and relationship starts and ends with ourselves. We can't have good relationships with others unless we have good relationship with ourselves. Yeah. That's what is going to be required of us. And certainly how we can make the best of this year. Okay. Last question here. Thank you so much, masters, teachers, loved ones. As we wind down this reading, do we need to know anything else about 2022? No. We feel that we've mostly covered it. The most important parts of it. There will obviously be many lessons along the way, different things that you will encounter, different things that will spring up. But we've covered what it is that is most important for you to know at this time. What we now wish to share is so much of what this channel was feeling. It is our greatest love, compassion, understanding, and deep appreciation for your choice to be on the planet at this time. We know that these times can be so heavy and difficult, that it's so easy for you to feel weighed down, to get lost and carried away, to feel the weight, the enormous weight of the world upon your shoulders, to wonder if it will ever end. To find yourselves scrimping along, clawing the bottoms of the containers in which you find yourself. These prisons that you think have been built around you. It's not easy what you have chosen to do. It's not easy to be alive at this time. but know that you have made the most courageous of decisions to do so. And in that, you can reap the highest of rewards. If you choose to experience this time from a place of empowerment, know that your guides, ancestors, loved ones circle around you at all times, building you up, guiding you along your way, that you only need to call out to find yourself filled with love, strengthened for your journey. You are not alone. Find those you can lean on. Gather in great community now with like-minded souls who can help pick you up when you are down, who can help raise the vibration of this planet, and therefore bring these things to fruition with greater ease. The power is within your hands. Your ability to move forward is just that. It is your ability. At every mark along the way, make choices that will benefit you. Set aside those that do not. Pray for those who cannot join you in your journey, or who prefer to stay lost and confused, blinded by the darkness that they see. Do not allow their low vibrations to attach themselves to you. For you must fortify yourself for what is ahead. Know that you have everything you need to do this already. We thank you for this time together. We thank you for listening to this channel. We thank you for your continued growth and intention to better your being. We thank you.